My name is John. My wife, Melissa, and I have been together for 12 years. We have 3 children, Liam, Sophie, and Jack. Our life has always been busy, but filled with love and joy. Melissa is a wonderful mother, always attentive to the needs of our children, and I couldn't imagine a better partner to share my life with. We live in a cozy suburban home where the laughter of our kids echoes through the hallways, a testament to the happiness we've built together. Melissa and I met in college. From the moment I saw her, I knew there was something special about her. She had a vibrant energy, a contagious smile that could light up any room, and an incredible sense of compassion. Our journey together started with a simple friendship, but it quickly blossomed into a deep and enduring love. Over the years, we've faced our fair share of challenges, but we've always managed to come through them stronger and more united. Our children are the center of our world. Liam, our oldest, is 10 years old. He's curious and intelligent, always asking questions and eager to learn about the world around him. Sophie, who is 8, is our little artist. She loves to draw and paint. Her creativity shines through in everything she does. And then there's Jack, our youngest at 5 years old. He's full of energy and mischief, always keeping us on our toes with his playful antics. Each of our children has their unique personality, and it's been a joy watching them grow and develop. Family time is something we cherish deeply. We make it a point to have dinner together every night, sharing stories about our day and enjoying each other's company. Weekends are often spent at the park, playing games or exploring new places. We've created a warm and loving environment for our children, one where they feel safe, supported, and loved. Melissa's dedication to our family is remarkable. She's a stay-at-home mom, a role she chose because she wanted to be fully present for our kids during their formative years. She's incredibly organized, managing the household with a level of efficiency that never ceases to amaze me. From preparing meals to helping with homework, she does it all with grace and patience. As for me, I work in marketing. My job keeps me busy, but I always make sure to prioritize my family. Melissa and I have a strong partnership. We support each other in everything we do. We've built a life based on mutual respect, understanding, and a deep love for one another. I've always felt lucky to have her by my side. Life, as it stands, feels perfect. Our home is filled with love and laughter, and there's a sense of contentment that comes from knowing we have each other. Melissa and I often talk about the future, about the dreams we have for our children, and the plans we have for our family. We're excited about what's to come and look forward to many more years of happiness together. In the quiet moments, when the kids are asleep and it's just the two of us, we reflect on how far we've come. Our journey together has been incredible, marked by love, growth, and countless beautiful memories. As I sit here writing this, I can't help but feel a profound sense of gratitude. Life may not always be easy, but with Melissa and our children by my side, I know we can face anything. Our family is my greatest treasure, and I am thankful every day for the love we share. We are getting ready for the annual family festival that takes place in our town. The kids are thrilled about this event. It's something we look forward to every year, a chance for families to come together, enjoy various activities, and create wonderful memories. The festival spans the weekend, filled with games, rides, food stalls, and performances that cater to all ages. Our preparations start weeks in advance, ensuring that we make the most of this anticipated occasion. Melissa and I began planning our day at the festival with precision. We mapped out the attractions we wanted to visit and the activities we wanted our children to experience. Liam, our eldest, had his heart set on the science fair and the robotics demonstration. He's always been fascinated by how things work and eagerly anticipated learning something new. Sophie, on the other hand, was excited about the arts and crafts section. She couldn't wait to try her hand at pottery and painting. And Jack, our youngest, was simply eager to go on as many rides as possible, his eyes lighting up at the thought of the Ferris wheel and the bumper cars. In the days leading up to the festival, our house buzzed with excitement. The kids talked nonstop about what they wanted to do first and what treats they hoped to indulge in. Melissa busied herself with packing a picnic basket. Even though there were numerous food stalls at the festival, she liked to have a little something homemade, ensuring we had healthy snacks amidst the inevitable festival treats. She prepared sandwiches, cut up fruits, and baked some of her famous chocolate chip cookies, which the kids loved. As for me, I made sure our gear was ready. I checked the stroller for Jack, packed extra clothes for the kids, and made sure we had plenty of sunscreen and hats. The weather forecast predicted a sunny weekend, perfect for an outdoor event, but also necessitating protection from the sun. We also decided to take a blanket so we could have a comfortable spot to sit and enjoy our picnic. The night before the festival, the excitement in our home reached its peak. We tucked the kids into bed earlier than usual, hoping they'd get enough rest for the big day. It took a while for them to settle down, their minds racing with anticipation. Melissa and I spent the evening finalizing our plans and ensuring everything was in order. We double-checked the list of events and activities, making sure we hadn't missed anything the kids wanted to see. Finally, the day of the festival arrived. The morning was filled with a mix of excitement and a bit of chaos. The kids woke up early, their energy infectious. Breakfast was a lively affair, with everyone chattering about the fun they were about to have. Melissa and I managed to get everyone ready and out the door, our car loaded with all the essentials we had prepared. As we drove to the festival grounds, the kids' excitement grew with each passing minute. We arrived to find the place bustling with families, the air filled with the sounds of laughter and music. We found a good spot to park, unloaded our things, and made our way towards the entrance. The sight of the festival in full swing was even more impressive than we had imagined. Colorful banners waved in the breeze, the smell of delicious food wafted through the air, and the sound of children's laughter was everywhere. The festival had officially started, and the excitement in the air was palpable. As soon as we arrived, the colorful banners and festive music enveloped us, creating an atmosphere of pure joy and anticipation. Melissa and the kids could hardly contain their enthusiasm. With a flurry of energy, they darted toward the attractions, their laughter and shouts blending with the lively festival sounds. I watched them go with a smile, taking in the sight of my family eagerly heading toward the rides and games. Liam, Sophie, and Jack were already plotting their course, their faces illuminated with the thrill of the day ahead. I knew they were looking forward to every single moment of the festival, and I was happy to see them so excited. As they made their way to the attractions, I decided to take on the task of grabbing some food for us. The festival had a variety of food stalls, offering everything from classic fairground snacks to gourmet treats. I headed towards the food court, navigating through the bustling crowd. The aroma of popcorn, cotton candy, and sizzling hot dogs filled the air, making it difficult to choose what to get first. After surveying the options, I decided to get a mix of snacks that I thought everyone would enjoy. I ordered a couple of hot dogs, some pretzels, and a large bucket of popcorn. I also picked up a few drinks to keep us hydrated throughout the day. The food vendors were busy, but the lines moved quickly, and soon I had everything we needed. I made my way back to the area where Melissa and the kids were. They had already started on the rides, and the joy on their faces was evident. Liam was engrossed in a science demonstration, his curiosity shining through as he interacted with the exhibits. Sophie was busy at the arts and crafts booth, her creativity on full display as she painted and molded clay. Jack, meanwhile, was on a carousel ride, his laughter ringing out as he spun around. I found a spot near one of the open areas, set up our picnic blanket, and arranged the food. The festival grounds were filled with families enjoying their day, and it was heartwarming to see so many people coming together for this event. I looked around, taking in the vibrant scene of kids playing, parents chatting, and performers entertaining the crowd. Melissa and the kids eventually joined me for a break. They were excited to share their experiences and the little treasures they had picked up along the way. Liam showed me a small robot toy he had won at one of the booths. Sophie proudly displayed her painted masterpiece, and Jack couldn't stop talking about the carousel ride. We all sat down and enjoyed the food I had brought. The simple pleasure of eating together, surrounded by the lively atmosphere of the festival, was a highlight of the day. As we ate, we chatted about what we had seen and what we were looking forward to next. The kids were already planning their next adventure, and Melissa and I exchanged knowing glances, content in the shared happiness of the moment. As the festival continued, Melissa and I took a break and found a shaded area to relax. While I checked my phone, Melissa struck up a conversation with nearby parents. Among them was Brian, a friendly man with 3 children just like us. Brian and Melissa quickly discovered they had much in common. Brian's children were close in age to ours, which made the conversation easy and engaging. Brian mentioned that his family had recently moved to the area and were looking for ways to get involved in the community. Melissa shared local tips and recommendations, and Brian appreciated the help. They talked about the festival, their children's interests, and their favorite family activities. Brian's wife, Laura, joined in, and the conversation expanded to include her. We all enjoyed swapping parenting stories and discussing local attractions. The kids returned from their adventures and quickly bonded with Brian's children, playing together and laughing. Melissa and I continued chatting with Brian and Laura, exchanging contact information and making plans to stay in touch. As we packed up to leave, Melissa and I were pleased with the new connections we had made. The day had been filled with fun, and meeting Brian and Laura was a delightful addition to our festival experience. Our families spent much of the festival together, enjoying the various activities and attractions. The day was filled with laughter and fun as we explored different areas of the festival grounds. Brian and Laura's company proved to be a wonderful addition to our experience, and it was clear that we were all having a great time. Melissa and Brian seemed to naturally gravitate towards each other, their conversations flowing effortlessly. They laughed together over shared jokes and stories, their camaraderie growing with each passing hour. It was clear they had developed a connection, and their interactions were warm and engaging. Brian and Melissa took the lead in coordinating our activities, suggesting which rides to try next and which booths to visit. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and it added an extra layer of enjoyment to the day. We all appreciated their energy and the ease with which they interacted. At one point, Brian and Melissa decided to join forces in a game of ring toss. Their friendly competition was spirited, and the laughter that followed their playful banter added to the festive atmosphere. Their ease with each other was evident, and it was clear they were enjoying each other's company immensely. Laura and I chatted while Brian and Melissa played. We talked about our kids, their school, and other local events. Our conversation was just as enjoyable, and I felt a sense of ease with Laura that mirrored the connection I saw between Melissa and Brian. Throughout the day, our families shared meals, played games, and explored the various festival attractions together. We stopped for ice cream, took turns on the carousel, and cheered each other on at the different booths. The sense of camaraderie and shared enjoyment made the day memorable. As the festival drew to a close, Melissa and Brian continued to share jokes and stories, their connection growing stronger. It was clear they had found a new friendship in each other, one that made the day even more enjoyable. By the time we said our goodbyes and exchanged hugs, it felt like we had known Brian and Laura for much longer than just a day. Our families had bonded over the shared experiences of the festival, and the connections formed were a highlight of the day. As we left the festival grounds, Melissa and I both felt that the new friendships we had made would be a lasting and positive addition to our lives. As the days passed after the festival, I started to notice subtle but significant changes in our family dynamics. Melissa seemed to be spending more time with Brian and his children than with our own family. At first, it was just little things, casual phone calls and occasional texts, which I thought were normal given the new friendships we had made. However, it soon became apparent that these interactions were increasing in frequency. Melissa would often mention plans to meet Brian and his family for playdates or casual outings. I found myself increasingly sidelined, as she would make these plans without including me or consulting me about our family's schedule. One afternoon, I came home from work to find Melissa and the kids getting ready to leave for a day out with Brian's family. Melissa had mentioned earlier in the week that she wanted to visit a local park, but it wasn't until the last minute that I realized she had made these plans with Brian and his children. I felt a pang of disappointment, knowing that this outing was taking place without me. The following week, Melissa spent more time on the phone with Brian, laughing and chatting as they made arrangements for yet another playdate. I noticed that she was increasingly preoccupied with their plans, and our family time seemed to take a back seat. I couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease. Our weekends, which were once filled with family activities and quality time together, were now often punctuated by Melissa's absences. She would frequently mention how much fun she had with Brian and his kids, and while I was glad she was enjoying herself, I couldn't shake the feeling that our family was being overshadowed by these new friendships. When I brought up my concerns with Melissa, she assured me that it was just a phase and that she was still committed to our family. She assured me that Brian and his family were just a new addition to our social circle and that our family time would not be neglected. Despite her assurances, I couldn't help but notice the growing distance between us. I began to question whether this shift was just a temporary change or if it signified something deeper. It was clear that Melissa's connection with Brian and his family was growing stronger, and I couldn't help but worry about how this new dynamic might impact our own family life. As I tried to navigate these changes, I felt a growing sense of disconnection and uncertainty. The festival introduced us to new friends, but it seemed that these friendships were starting to affect the balance within our own family. As time went on, I began to notice that Melissa and Brian's interactions were becoming increasingly private. What started as casual outings and playdates now included more secluded meetings under the guise of finding new activities for the kids. It was subtle at first, with Melissa mentioning that she and Brian were scouting out new parks or attractions for future family outings. One weekend, Melissa told me that she and Brian were going to visit a new family-friendly event that had recently opened in town. She explained that they wanted to check it out to see if it would be suitable for our children. It seemed reasonable, so I didn't think much of it. However, when she returned, she seemed unusually animated and enthusiastic, talking about the event in a way that suggested she had enjoyed it more than just for the kids' sake. Over the next few weeks, Melissa and Brian's private meetings became more frequent. They would go on research trips to explore new venues or attend special events. Melissa often mentioned these excursions as opportunities to ensure that the kids had the best experiences possible. While I appreciated her dedication to finding fun activities for our children, I couldn't ignore the growing frequency and seclusion of these outings. On several occasions, Melissa would mention that she and Brian were meeting to discuss ideas or plan activities. These meetings often happened during times when I was unavailable or busy with work. I started to feel excluded from these decisions, as if our family plans were being made without my involvement. One evening, Melissa mentioned a late afternoon trip she and Brian had planned to a nearby amusement park. The trip was supposed to be a quick visit, to check out new attractions for the kids. When she returned later that evening, she was full of stories about the park and the fun they had. However, her descriptions felt more personal than simply family-oriented. As these private meetings continued, I couldn't help but feel uneasy. I was concerned about the increasing frequency of these secluded outings and the nature of their conversations. It seemed that their interactions were moving beyond the casual friendliness that had initially brought us together. I tried to discuss my concerns with Melissa, but she brushed them off, insisting that she was simply trying to make the best choices for our children. She reassured me that her relationship with Brian was purely platonic, and that the time they spent together was important for ensuring our kids had enjoyable experiences. As weeks went by, Melissa began spending increasingly more time away from home. She frequently cited organizing events and meeting with new friends she had met at the festival as reasons for her absences. Her schedule became busier, filled with social engagements and activities that seemed to take precedence over our family time. At first, I supported her enthusiasm, believing that these new connections were beneficial for expanding our social circle and providing opportunities for the kids. However, it soon became clear that Melissa's commitments were consuming more of her time than I had anticipated. Our weekends, once filled with family outings and shared experiences, were now often occupied by her social engagements. Melissa's increasing absences began to affect our family life. I found myself spending more time with the kids alone and managing household responsibilities on my own. It was evident that Melissa's focus had shifted significantly. Despite her assurances that she was still dedicated to our family, her actions spoke otherwise, and the growing distance between us became harder to ignore. When we did have time together, the interactions often felt strained. Melissa would recount her experiences with her new friends, sharing details about their latest outings and events. While I was happy for her, I couldn't help but feel left out and disconnected. The balance that had once characterized our family life was shifting, and the emotional distance between us seemed to widen with each passing day. As time went on, I couldn't shake the growing sense that something was amiss. Melissa's frequent absences and her increasing focus on her new social circle were becoming harder to ignore. I started to have doubts and suspicions about what was happening during those times when she claimed to be busy with organizing events or meeting new friends. Despite my growing concerns, I wanted to believe that everything was innocent and that she was simply adjusting to the new relationships and activities she had become involved in. The kids began to notice their mother's prolonged absences as well. Liam, Sophie, and Jack had started asking questions about when Mom would be home and expressing disappointment over missing out on family activities. Their innocent questions and the noticeable void left by Melissa's absence made me realize the impact her frequent departures were having on them. Their sadness and confusion were evident, and it was clear that they missed having their mother around. Despite my efforts to reassure them and fill the gap left by Melissa's absence, I could see the growing effect it was having on their spirits. The once vibrant and lively family environment was starting to feel incomplete. The children's longing for their mother and the increasing emptiness in our home only fueled my doubts. I struggled with my feelings, torn between confronting my suspicions and hoping that everything was as Melissa had claimed. The growing distance and the kids' reactions were unsettling, and I found myself grappling with the possibility that there was more to her absences than I wanted to believe. One evening, as I was tidying up the living room, I noticed Melissa's phone sitting unattended on the kitchen counter. The mounting unease I had been feeling pushed me to take a closer look. With a sense of trepidation, I unlocked her phone using the passcode I had always known. My intention was merely to understand the growing distance between us, but what I discovered was far beyond what I had anticipated. As I navigated through her messages, I found a series of texts from Brian that left no room for doubt. The conversations were filled with terms of endearment, flirtatious banter, and intimate details that suggested a deep and personal connection. The language was more than friendly. It was affectionate and suggestive, revealing a romantic relationship that had developed between them. I scrolled through the messages with increasing disbelief. Brian and Melissa's exchanges were not just casual or friendly. They were charged with emotion and intimacy. They spoke openly about their feelings for each other, shared personal thoughts, and made plans that extended beyond the boundaries of a simple friendship. The messages painted a clear picture of a relationship that was both emotional and physical. Each message I read felt like a stab to my heart. The reality of their affair was painfully evident. The way they communicated with each other was filled with a level of intimacy and affection that could only be described as romantic. My worst fears had been realized, and the discovery shattered any remaining illusions I had about their relationship. The weight of the truth settled heavily on me. I was overwhelmed with a mix of emotions, shock, anger, and a profound sense of betrayal. The evidence was indisputable, and it was clear that Melissa and Brian had been involved in a romantic affair. As I grappled with this painful revelation, I struggled to understand how to move forward and confront the situation that had so deeply affected our lives. The weight of the truth was unbearable, and I knew I had to confront Melissa. The pain and betrayal I felt demanded clarity, and I needed to address the situation head-on. That evening, as Melissa returned from yet another outing with Brian's family, I had made up my mind. I called her into the living room where I had carefully arranged my thoughts and gathered the strength to face the truth. As she walked in, I could see the familiar warmth in her eyes, a warmth that had become increasingly distant over the past weeks. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding as I began. "Melissa, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. She looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension, sensing the gravity of the moment. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice tinged with concern. I hesitated for a moment, then decided to cut straight to the heart of the matter. "I found the messages on your phone," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "The ones between you and Brian. I saw everything. The flirtation, the intimacy, the plans you made together. I need to know what's going on." Melissa's face went pale, and I could see the realization sink in. She looked down at the floor, her fingers nervously playing with the hem of her shirt. For a long moment there was silence, broken only by the sound of my breathing and the weight of the unspoken truth hanging between us. Finally, she looked up at me, her eyes brimming with tears. "John, I'm so sorry," she began, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't want you to find out this way, but the truth is, I've been seeing Brian. It started as a friendship, but it grew into something more." I felt a lump in my throat as I tried to process her words. "More? What do you mean by more?" I asked, trying to keep my emotions in check. Melissa took a deep breath, her eyes filling with tears. "I'm in love with him, John. I never intended for it to happen, but it did. Our connection became something I didn't expect. I know this doesn't excuse anything, but I want you to know that I never meant to hurt you." Her confession was like a punch to the gut. The realization that she had developed such deep feelings for someone else while we were still married was devastating. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief as I tried to comprehend the enormity of what she was telling me. "I can't believe this," I said, my voice trembling. "How could you do this to us, to our family?" Melissa's tears flowed freely now, and she reached out to me, but I stepped back. "I'm so sorry, John," she repeated, her voice choked with emotion. "I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know how to stop what was happening. I know it's too late, but I needed to be honest with you." The room felt heavy with the weight of her admission, and I could feel the ground shifting beneath me. The trust that had once been the foundation of our relationship had been shattered, and I was left to grapple with the reality of her betrayal. We talked for a while longer, with Melissa trying to explain how her feelings for Brian had developed and how she had been struggling with her emotions. Despite her explanations, the hurt and betrayal were too deep. The conversation ended with a sense of finality, and as Melissa left the room to give me space, I was left alone with my thoughts. The confrontation had brought the painful truth to light, but it also left me with a profound sense of uncertainty about the future. The love and commitment we had once shared now seemed distant and unreachable, and I was left to navigate the aftermath of her confession and decide how to move forward. The confrontation with Melissa marked the beginning of a painful unraveling. The days following our intense conversation were filled with tension and conflict. The fragile threads that held our family together were stretched to their breaking point. Our once harmonious home was now a battleground of emotions, and the children became unfortunate witnesses to our escalating discord. The arguments between Melissa and me were fierce and often uncontrollable. We exchanged harsh words and accusations, our voices echoing through the house. The tension was palpable, and the atmosphere was charged with anger and resentment. The children, Liam, Sophie, and Jack, could sense the discord and began to feel the effects of our strained relationship. Their once cheerful faces were now clouded with confusion and sadness as they watched their parents' marriage deteriorate before their eyes. One afternoon, after another heated argument, I saw the strain on their faces as they huddled together in the corner of the living room. Liam's eyes were red, Sophie clung to her stuffed animal tightly, and Jack looked on with a worried expression. They had become collateral damage in our bitter conflict, and their emotional distress was evident. I felt a pang of guilt knowing that they were caught in the crossfire of our failing marriage. The final blow came one evening when Melissa decided to leave. She packed a few belongings and told me with a resigned but firm tone that she was moving out to be with Brian. The realization that she was choosing to be with someone else while abandoning her family hit me like a physical blow. The gravity of the situation sank in as Melissa prepared to leave, and I felt a profound sense of loss and betrayal. As Melissa walked out the door, I could hear the children's cries and pleas for her to stay. Liam, Sophie, and Jack clung to her, their voices filled with heartbreak and desperation. Melissa's eyes were filled with tears as she tried to comfort them, but the damage had been done. The sight of our children's broken hearts was the most painful part of this entire ordeal. Melissa's departure marked the end of our family unit as we had known it. The house, once filled with laughter and love, now felt empty and hollow. The emotional fallout was immense, and I was left to pick up the pieces of our shattered lives. The children and I were left to navigate this new reality without the woman who had once been the center of our family. The aftermath of Melissa's departure was filled with a sense of profound loss and disorientation. The family dynamic had changed irreparably, and I struggled to provide stability and comfort for the children in the wake of this upheaval. The love and trust that had once bound us together were gone, leaving only the painful remnants of what we had lost. With Melissa's departure, the reality of our shattered family set in, and the struggle for custody of our children began. The once straightforward routine of our lives was replaced by a legal battle that threatened to upend everything we had worked for. The custody proceedings became a battleground, with both sides fighting fiercely for what they believed was best for the kids. I found myself thrust into the role of a single parent, facing the daunting task of providing stability and care for Liam, Sophie, and Jack amidst the chaos. Each day was a balancing act as I tried to maintain a sense of normalcy while navigating the complexities of the legal system. The courtroom battles were draining, and the emotional toll was immense. I had to present my case, showing the court that I was capable of providing a stable and loving environment for our children. The legal process was exhausting and fraught with tension. There were countless meetings with lawyers, numerous court appearances, and endless paperwork. Each step felt like a step further away from the family life we once had. I had to prepare evidence and testimonies to prove my commitment and ability to care for our children, all while managing their daily needs and trying to shield them from the worst of the conflict. Melissa's involvement in the custody battle added another layer of complexity. She too was fighting for her right to be a part of their lives. Her arguments were often centered around her deep bond with the children and her desire to be actively involved in their upbringing. While I understood her need to remain a part of their lives, the process often felt like a tug of war that left the children caught in the middle. Despite the legal struggles, my primary focus remained on the well-being of Liam, Sophie, and Jack. I worked hard to maintain their routines and provide them with emotional support. I made sure they continued with their school activities, kept their social lives intact, and tried to offer comfort during this tumultuous time. I wanted them to know that despite the upheaval, they were loved and cared for. There were moments of intense frustration and heartache as I watched my children struggle with the uncertainty and stress of the custody battle. Their emotional needs were paramount, and I did my best to be there for them, offering reassurance and stability. It was a difficult period, filled with sleepless nights and endless worry, but my commitment to my children's well-being remained unwavering. The custody battle was not just a fight for legal rights, but a struggle to preserve the family dynamic and provide a sense of security for Liam, Sophie, and Jack. Each day brought new challenges, and the outcome of the battle seemed uncertain. However, through it all, I remained focused on one goal: ensuring that my children had the love, support, and stability they needed to navigate this difficult chapter in their lives. Several months had passed since Melissa left, and life was slowly beginning to settle into a new routine. The initial shock and turbulence had given way to a more manageable, though still challenging existence. As we adapted to our new reality, the days became more structured, and the chaos began to recede, replaced by a tentative sense of normalcy. For Liam, Sophie, and Jack, the transition was anything but easy. Their emotions were still raw, and the absence of their mother was a constant, lingering presence in their lives. They missed her deeply, and their days were often filled with questions about why she wasn't around and when she might return. I did my best to address their concerns with honesty, while also shielding them from the more painful aspects of our situation. I worked hard to create a stable and nurturing environment for them. We established new routines that provided a sense of consistency and predictability. Mornings began with a family breakfast, and evenings were filled with activities that helped us bond and distract ourselves from the ongoing challenges. I made an effort to be more present in their lives, attending their school events, helping with homework, and being actively involved in their extracurricular activities. Despite our best efforts, the absence of Melissa left a void that was difficult to fill. There were moments when the children's grief and confusion were evident, and I struggled to find the right words to comfort them. I tried to be a source of strength and reassurance, but there were times when the emotional weight of the situation was overwhelming. I also sought the support of a therapist to help us navigate our feelings and cope with the changes. Gradually, the children began to adjust to their new life. They started forming new routines and found comfort in the stability we were working to build. Liam threw himself into his sports, Sophie took up painting as a creative outlet, and Jack found solace in his newfound interest in robotics. Their involvement in these activities helped them channel their emotions and provided them with a sense of accomplishment and distraction. The process of adjusting to a life without Melissa was ongoing. There were still moments of sadness and reminders of what we had lost, but there were also signs of progress. The children began to smile and laugh more often, and we started to find joy in our new routines. It was a slow and steady journey, marked by small victories and continued efforts to rebuild our lives. As we moved forward, I realized that while the pain of Melissa's departure would always be a part of our story, it did not define our future. The new life we were creating was filled with its challenges, but it was also a testament to our resilience and ability to adapt. With each passing day, we continued to build a new foundation, one that was rooted in the love and support we had for each other, and in our determination to move forward and embrace the future.